Once upon a time, in a land filled with tall trees and wide rivers, there lived a young girl named Pocahontas. She was a Native American princess from the Powhatan tribe, a group known for their deep connection to the land. Pocahontas loved her home and spent her days exploring the beauty of nature, climbing trees, and playing with her friends. The forest was alive with vibrant colors and sounds. Birds chirped, animals rustled in the bushes, and the sun filtered through the leaves, creating a magical atmosphere. Pocahontas was not just a princess. She was brave and curious. One of her favorite spots was a sparkling river where she would dance with the fish and sing to the birds. She loved to feel the cool water on her toes and watch the dragonflies flit above. Her laughter echoed through the forest, a sound of pure joy. But deep inside, Pocahontas felt a change coming, something that would soon affect her entire world. Across the ocean, in a faraway land, there were people called settlers. These settlers dreamed of finding new places to live, treasures to uncover, and a chance to start fresh. One sunny day, a big ship filled with these hopeful settlers sailed into the world of Pocahontas. The sight of the ship made the water splash and birds soar into the sky. On board was a man named John Smith, an adventurous soul with big dreams of exploring new lands and making his mark in history. John Smith was brave and eager, but he also had a mischievous streak. He looked out at the new land with wide eyes, excited about the possibilities. The settlers were filled with hopes of prosperity, but they were also unaware of the lives they were about to change. Little did they know, the Powhatan people were watching from the shore, ready to protect their home. The Powhatan people, led by Chief Powhatan, saw the settlers as a threat to their way of life. They had lived in harmony with the land for generations, respecting the nature around them. Pocahontas' father decided they needed to keep an eye on these newcomers. Warriors gathered, their faces painted and ready to defend their territory. Pocahontas watched, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity about the strangers. One sunny day, while wandering deeper into the forest, Pocahontas stumbled upon John Smith. They were both surprised and intrigued. Pocahontas had never seen anyone like him before. His clothes were strange, and he carried weapons unlike anything in her world. John was equally amazed by her beauty and spirit, her long hair flowing in the breeze, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Instead of fighting, they decided to talk. Pocahontas took a step closer, her heart racing, and smiled. She was intrigued by John, and he was fascinated by her connection to the land. Pocahontas taught John about the plants, the animals, and the stories of her people. In return, John shared tales of his adventures across the ocean, filled with pirates, treasure, and vast cities. Their differences melted away as they discovered a bond that crossed cultures. As the sun set, they found a spot by a campfire, where they sat side by side. Pocahontas' laughter mixed with the crackling of the fire as they shared stories. She spoke of the stars and how they guided her people. John listened intently, his heart warmed by her words. They talked until the stars filled the sky, forming a tapestry of light above them. Their friendship blossomed, but they both knew that the world around them was not so simple. The settlers, eager to make their mark, began to encroach on Powhatan lands. They chopped down trees and took resources without understanding the impact on the native people. The Powhatan tribe grew restless, sensing danger. Tensions escalated, and soon conflicts broke out. Pocahontas felt torn, knowing her people were frightened, but also worried for her friend John. She wanted peace, but how could she achieve it? Pocahontas made a brave decision to mediate. She believed that talking could resolve the issues between her people and the settlers. With determination in her heart, she sought out John. "We need to bring our worlds together," she said. It was a bold move, but Pocahontas was never one to shy away from a challenge. Chief Powhatan was not pleased to see John. He viewed him as a potential danger to his people. The meeting was tense, with warriors surrounding them, eyes filled with suspicion. But Pocahontas stood tall, her voice steady as she spoke. "Father, John is my friend. He wants to help us understand each other." Her words hung in the air, a plea for peace that echoed in everyone's hearts. Chief Powhatan listened carefully, thinking about what to do. The air was filled with tension as John stood quietly, showing respect for the chief's power. Slowly, John began to understand that not all settlers were bad. Pocahontas' bravery and honesty were bright examples of hope for everyone. He wondered if they could find a way to live together peacefully. Thanks to Pocahontas' courage, the two groups began to meet more often. They shared food, stories, and laughter. The first gatherings were cautious, but as time went on, friendships began to blossom. Pocahontas and John laughed together, enjoying the simple pleasure of sharing meals and learning about each other's cultures. It felt like a new beginning. Despite their efforts, problems still arose. Some settlers were greedy, wanting more land and resources. They didn't respect the Powhatan way of life and disregarded the agreements made. This caused anger and fear among both groups. Pocahontas felt a knot in her stomach as she watched the tension rise. She knew she had to do something to protect her people and her friend. One night, under a sky full of stars, Pocahontas and John met by the river. The gentle sound of water flowing provided a peaceful backdrop as they shared their worries. John wanted to help his fellow settlers, but he didn't want to hurt Pocahontas' people. They both wished for peace, but felt the weight of their worlds pressing down on them. "We must find a way to make them understand," Pocahontas urged. But then, a storm came. Dark clouds rolled in, mirroring the turmoil in their hearts. Tensions flared, and misunderstandings turned into battles. The air was thick with fear and anger. Pocahontas was devastated. She knew that fighting would only bring pain to both sides. "What can we do?" She wondered aloud, feeling lost and helpless. Pocahontas gathered her tribe, calling for a meeting. She urged them to seek peace instead of fighting. "We can show them that we are not enemies," she said passionately. The faces around her were serious, filled with concern and skepticism. But Pocahontas reminded them of her friendship with John and how important it was to keep communication open. She pleaded for unity and understanding. The tribe agreed to give peace a chance. They decided to meet the settlers again, hoping to find common ground. Pocahontas felt a spark of hope in her heart as she envisioned a future where both groups could live side by side. Together, they could find a way to coexist, respecting each other's ways and traditions. The next gathering was filled with nervous energy. Both sides came together, their faces showing a mix of hope and fear. Pocahontas stood in the center, ready to speak. She shared her dreams for a peaceful future, where children from both sides could play together and families could share their stories. Her words were met with silence, a moment of reflection as everyone absorbed the message of unity. John stood beside Pocahontas, a steadfast ally. He shared his own hopes for the future, speaking from the heart about the value of friendship and cooperation. His voice resonated with many, and slowly, people began to nod, realizing that perhaps peace was possible after all. The tension began to lift, replaced by a sense of understanding and hope. As the days passed, children from both tribes began to play together. They laughed and shared games, their joy bridging the gap between their cultures. Pocahontas smiled as she watched them, knowing that this was the future she had dreamed of, a world where differences were celebrated, not feared. The sound of their laughter echoed through the forest, a beautiful symphony of unity. However, just when it seemed that peace was within reach, news spread of more settlers arriving. These newcomers were eager for land and resources, and their intentions were less than friendly. This news worried Pocahontas and John. They understood that their fragile peace was in jeopardy and knew they had to act quickly to protect their families. Pocahontas found John by the river one afternoon, her heart heavy with concern. "We have to warn everyone," she said urgently. "These new settlers may not want peace." John nodded, his expression serious. He promised to help Pocahontas protect her people, but they both knew it would take all their strength and courage to face the challenges ahead. Tensions rose as misunderstandings grew once more. Fights broke out, fueled by anger and fear. Pocahontas was heartbroken, feeling like her dream of unity was slipping away. The forest that once echoed with laughter now felt heavy with conflict. She knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but she was determined to fight for peace. Pocahontas and John met again, brainstorming ways to bring everyone together. They decided to hold a big celebration, a feast to show both sides that they could coexist. "If we can share our cultures," John suggested, "maybe we can show them the beauty of friendship." Pocahontas' eyes sparkled with hope. "Yes, a celebration can bring us together." They worked hard to prepare for the celebration. Pocahontas and her people cooked delicious food, corn, fish, and berries, while John and the settlers decorated the area with colorful banners and flowers. Excitement buzzed in the air as everyone pitched in. The smell of food wafted through the forest, making mouths water and spirits lift. It felt like a new beginning. The day of the celebration arrived, bright and sunny. People from both tribes gathered, their faces lit up with anticipation. Laughter and music filled the air as Pocahontas led everyone in traditional dances. The settlers joined in, their awkward steps turning into joy as they embraced the spirit of the day. It was a beautiful sight, a tapestry of cultures woven together in harmony. As night fell, Pocahontas stood up to make a toast. She raised her cup high, her voice clear and strong. To friendship, may we always remember that together we are stronger. The crowd erupted in cheers, their hearts swelling with hope. John stood by her side, feeling a sense of pride and gratitude. This was the moment they had both worked so hard for. That night, a sense of unity filled the air. People from both sides shared their stories, their dreams, and their laughter. They realized that they could learn from each other, building a new world together. Pocahontas and John smiled at one another, their hearts full. They knew that while challenges lay ahead, they had made a significant step towards a better future. Later, Pocahontas and John sat by the river, looking up at the stars. They talked about their hopes for the future, dreaming of a world where their people could live in harmony. Maybe one day, our children will live in peace, John said softly. Pocahontas nodded, her heart full of hope. Together, they could build a bridge between their worlds. As time passed, Pocahontas and John worked hard to maintain peace. They organized gatherings, shared resources, and encouraged understanding. However, they faced many challenges. New settlers continued to arrive, and some were unwilling to accept the idea of peace. But Pocahontas and John stood strong, determined to protect their vision of friendship. Despite their efforts, more settlers continued to arrive. They brought with them desires for land and wealth, often disregarding the agreements made. The delicate balance of peace began to tip again. Pocahontas felt a knot in her stomach as she watched the settlers grow restless. She knew that their friendship was about to be tested once more. Pocahontas found John in the clearing, her expression serious. "We need to act fast. These new settlers may not be like the ones we've been working with," she warned. John's brow furrowed in concern, and he agreed. "We must find a way to show them the value of peace before it's too late." They knew time was of the essence. Tensions flared again as misunderstandings grew. Fights broke out, fueled by anger and fear. The forest that had once echoed with laughter now felt heavy with conflict. Pocahontas was heartbroken, feeling like her dream was slipping away. She felt a deep sadness for both her people and the settlers, wishing they could see the value of unity. Pocahontas and John knew they had to act quickly. They called for another meeting, hoping to bring everyone together once more. They believed that communication could heal the wounds. Pocahontas stood before her people, her voice steady. "We must find a way to talk, to listen, and to understand each other." John echoed her sentiments, urging the settlers to embrace the spirit of cooperation. This time, they invited leaders from both sides to join the meeting. The atmosphere was tense, with uncertainty hanging in the air. Pocahontas shared her dreams for a peaceful future, urging everyone to remember the laughter and joy they had shared during the celebration. Her voice trembled with emotion, filled with hope and determination. John stood by her, ready to support her every word. An elder from the Powhatan tribe spoke up, sharing stories of peace and understanding. He spoke of their ancestors, who had faced challenges, but had always chosen the path of dialogue over conflict. His words resonated with many, reminding them of the importance of working together. People listened, their hearts softening as they reflected on their shared humanity. Slowly, people began to see the value of cooperation. They realized that fighting would only bring more pain and suffering. This moment was a turning point, where hope flickered like a candle in the darkness. Pocahontas and John exchanged glances, feeling the shift in the room. Perhaps peace was within reach once more. After much discussion, an agreement was reached. Both sides would work together to find solutions that respected each other's needs. Pocahontas and John felt a wave of relief wash over them. It was a fragile peace, but it was a start. They knew that it would take continued effort and understanding to maintain this delicate balance. To celebrate the agreement, Pocahontas and John organized a feast. It was a beautiful day filled with laughter, music, and hope. People danced and sang together, feeling a renewed sense of friendship. The air was filled with the aromas of delicious food, and the sounds of joy echoed through the forest. Pocahontas felt a warmth in her heart as she watched her dream of unity come to life. As Pocahontas watched everyone celebrate, she reflected on their journey. She thought of the challenges, the laughter, and the tears. Their friendship had changed everything. She realized that while the road ahead would still be bumpy, they had built something beautiful, a foundation of trust and understanding. It was a moment she would treasure forever. Later that evening, John turned to Pocahontas, his expression serious. "I promise to always fight for peace," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "No matter what happens, I will stand by you and your people." Pocahontas smiled, feeling a sense of strength in their bond. Together, they could face any challenge that lay ahead. The future looked bright. Pocahontas and John knew that with hard work and understanding, they could build a new world for their people, a world where friendship thrived. They envisioned a time when their children could run freely in the forest, learning from both cultures and growing up in harmony. It was a beautiful dream, and they were determined to make it a reality. Over the years, Pocahontas and John worked tirelessly to strengthen their bond. They organized events that celebrated both cultures, teaching their people to respect and learn from each other. Their friendship became a symbol of hope, showing that peace was possible. They faced challenges, but with each hurdle, their connection grew stronger. The legend of Pocahontas and John Smith lives on. Their story reminds us that peace is possible when we choose understanding over conflict. They became a beacon of hope for future generations, teaching the value of compassion and cooperation. Their legacy is a reminder that even in the darkest times, friendship can shine through. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the legend of Pocahontas and John Smith. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more tales of bravery and friendship. Remember, no matter our differences, we can always find a way to come together. Let's continue to learn from one another and embrace the beauty of our diverse world.